lot of times with investors and wholesalers and whatnot, there's a lot of like smoke and mirrors, and you guys have just been really direct and really respectful and professional. So I would love to stay in contact with you all and potentially represent you guys if and when you need representation moving forward.
Hey Chad, how's it going?
Good, thanks. How are you doing, Ryan?
Not bad, man. Sorry I missed you last night. I didn't see the message until I wasn't in front of the computer anymore.
Hey, no problem, man. Sorry, I just sent you the voicemail twice. I was just finishing up with a long buyer consultation for an out-of-state buyer, so was just wrapping up.
Totally fine, man. Totally fine. Just wanted to jump on here for a minute and talk to you about this one and see if we can try and get an offer in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I spoke with Zach a little bit the other night, and he first of all asked me about creative financing, and my immediate response was no. Then I spoke with my sellers, and they authorized me to get a little bit creative and kind of have some open negotiations with you. And then we also, they essentially need to make this move happen quickly. They're moving out of state for a new job, so it's got to happen fast. So we're getting lots of activity, like I told Zach, and we're getting good feedback too. But we did drop the price this morning to $525, and so I don't know how that changes, your guys' whole platform and spectrum, but just kind of wanted to talk through some stuff with y'all, think about, hear what you kind of have in mind for creative financing, kind of maybe share what I have in mind, and see if something may be able to work, and kind of go from there. Yeah,
so perfect situation for us is that we're able to just do a traditional sale. So we look at that first, and I don't know if he told you, we buy a lot of investments in the area, so we're just looking at it purely from the perspective of, can we buy this, with a traditional loan, turn it into a rental, and make money or break even at least. And for us, that price was not pretty, which, as you know, depending, obviously it just depends on rental rates for one, but it's just, our price was like $460, I think. So knock that out. Then the question is, okay, would they be interested in talking about other stuff or not? Totally fine if not. If you are, for us, the first thing, so like when I looked at this and I saw that it had an assumable VA loan, here's a couple things. So first of all, we have been a part of multiple transactions where people try to do an assumable VA loan. It takes a long time to do, but we also aren't veterans, so they wouldn't gain the benefit of getting their their entitlement back for the loan.
Right.
And so that's why we don't do that. It's not that it's not not a good idea. It's just there would be no benefit to anybody, and the timing would take forever. So for us, that's why the only thing else that made sense based off the tight window that they had on their price would just be to take over the loan subject to, and then pay them out for their equity. Now, stop me if you need to, but the big thing for us on a VA loan is if you take over the VA loan, their entitlement is going to be tied up in the property, and I'm assuming that may be an issue here.
Exactly, yeah. I explained that to Zach, and he told me that he was a former mortgage guy, so didn't need to get high level, but you're spot on. They're moving to a new state and need to use their entitlements for the new spot. So the VA is only assumable for VA borrowers. Yeah,
so their loan is probably they didn't buy it too long ago, so maybe upper fours, something like that is left.
I think it's about 492. Yeah.
Cool. So upper fours left. Their entitlement should be $726,000 ish. I think it's like $726,500. So they could go get another VA loan at about $230,000 or so at zero down. And then they can get a VA loan above that, but they would have to pay 25% of the difference. And obviously, unless you don't go too far above that, that's going to eat into it, and it may make more sense to do a conventional. So how we look at something like this is, from our standpoint, like I said, I kind of gave you how we would look at it on ideal situations that we just wouldn't be able to pull off. We could pull off the sub 2 and give them cash at closing and, pay your commission and all that stuff. But the entitlement would be tied up. And so for some people, that's a deal breaker. For a lot of people, it's a deal breaker. But if they need to sell and we're getting in a tight situation, then what we can do is just figure out, okay, can we get them enough money that they can go get a conventional loan instead and just pay their down payment? Because, that might be, it's not plan A, it may not even be plan B, but it might be an option.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We've actually had about 6 or 7 subject to offers already.
Yep.
And they have been pretty vehemently and adamantly opposed. So I know that that's off the table. And so, Zach did not mention anything about subject to. He just said creative financing. And so I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts, but kind of knowing that's kind of the alternate route. I don't think this is probably going to work out.
Yeah, curious. So when you were thinking creative finance, what other options were you thinking might work?
Well, what I was thinking potentially, without knowing a whole lot, because Zach and I had a pretty short conversation, but we got a lot of information exchanged, and he said, "Are you willing to go lower than 540?" And I said no, and at the time, I was advising my clients not to. We're still getting a decent amount of activity, and the feedback we're getting is good. The market has just changed, and we're in a slow time of the market, right? And so I said we just have to be patient. We're good, and I just sold the house right behind this, like immediately behind this one for 574. So I know 540 is an accurate number.
Mm-hmm.
And so after speaking with them, hearing the urgency and whatnot, what I was thinking is, potentially what we could do is some sort of 2-1 buy down for you guys where, you're bringing a decent amount of cash up front, and the mortgage is still small, and we're buying down that rate for the first couple of years so that you're able to cash flow it, and then you can potentially refinance moving forward. But it also sounds like that's probably not a viable option for, your business plan.
It's not for us. It's certainly, I think, one of the better approaches to selling a house right now, for sure. So I think it's definitely a viable option. Doesn't mean, may not be for us, but could certainly be possible. So yeah, when I see something like this, like I want to try and figure out a way to, to get the house sold for them and have everybody be a winner, but we can't always fit, the square peg in the round hole. So may not make perfect sense here, but what I would like to do is at least stay in touch with you, because if they really get in a situation where they need to sell, we're happy to at least just go a little more in depth on presenting what may be possible. Because again, for us, it's not a matter of like, this is how we want to do it. It's just, hey, these are all the options we have, and which one of these is going to solve the most problems for them. It's not going to be perfect for sure, but it may be worth at least talking about.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think we can. I've got your contact info now, and you've got mine. So, let's keep the lines of communication open. On the flip side of things, really appreciated both the way you and Zach have handled yourselves. A lot of times with investors and wholesalers and whatnot, there's a lot of like smoke and mirrors, and you guys have just been really direct and really respectful and professional. So I would love to stay in contact with you all and potentially, represent you guys if and when you need representation moving forward with sales or purchases that are complicated or where you need, a realtor's expertise or whatnot. Would love the opportunity to, earn your trust and work together moving forward.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Chad. And I'm glad to hear that, because Zach definitely works a lot on that as well. And, especially with transactions like this, like he said, there's a lot of people that try to throw stuff out there and they're going for the square peg in the round hole. That's honestly what it is. For us on these, it's like, everybody has a different situation. The question is, can we solve the situation? If we can, it's a perfect scenario, but you can't solve everything. So happy to at least have had the conversation. Absolutely. This is my cell number, so feel free to call me or text me anytime, but we'll check in with you a little bit. You said that they're moving within the month?
They're moving right after the new year. So
copy.
We're gonna hit it here pretty hard over the next few weeks, and hopefully get a deal under contract here in the next couple of weeks. Yeah,
end of the year, you can try and see if you can't sneak it to an investor that's trying to depreciate. Right? That's something you might be able to fit in at the end of the year, where somebody's willing to pay a little more and save money on their taxes. But we'll keep an eye out on it. If you haven't heard, I'll probably send you a message in a couple weeks or something. But if you haven't heard from us, always feel free to reach out, and we're happy to get on the phone. And things may be different now than they were, they may be different in a month compared to now. So always happy to keep that open line of communication.
Likewise, man. I appreciate it, and I hope you and Zach have a happy and healthy Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. You as well.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Very cool. So not all conversations with agents have to be miserable. They're pretty cool people for the most part. That might be a little bit subjective because there's a lot of different agents, but you can hear there. I've had phone calls like this before where you're just open and honest is the easiest way to communicate with these guys. Don't try to just solve their problem with what works best for you. If you really approach it from what works best for the seller, then A, you might be able to come to an agreement, but B, you're going to actually come off as somebody that cares. It's really not that hard to just care about the other person and not just try to make money out of a transaction. So you heard it right there. Even if this one doesn't work out, he wants to keep an open line of communication and reach back out to us on potential properties in the future, which is great because that's not the only property that's ever going to come up that we might be able to buy as an investment with this dude. He's a realtor. He might see, tons of properties on a monthly basis, and one of those in the future might fit. So if you're making phone calls like this, then make sure that you're actually taking the time to approach it from a stance of how can I help this person and not just how can I help myself. If you're not making phone calls, then don't even worry about that. You should just be making phone calls. And if you haven't already done that, check this video out because it's not that hard to make phone calls to people. It's free. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And even if you botch every single call, you're going to get better every time. And that is quite literally the best and really the only way to get good at making phone calls. So keep making phone calls. Enjoy yourself. Hopefully this was helpful for somebody. Until next time.